What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here of The Bottom Line View, here for my NFL 2018 playoff predictions, my predictions for the AFC, the NFC, and ultimately crown my Super Bowl 52 champion. How this is going to work is we're going to work our way from the NFC to the AFC and crown the Super Bowl champion at the end of this video. I want to hear from you guys, so before I get started, comment below your opinions on who you believe is going to make the Super Bowl, who you believe is going to win the Super Bowl, and give me a couple dark horses you could see making it as well. Nobody wants to see the same predictions, so give me maybe an out there prediction that you have. I need to say that the NFC conference this season in 2018 is the most difficult I've ever had, ever as an NFL fan, predicting a conference for who I believe is going to represent the Super Bowl. I could see this going multiple ways, and I played through every single way in my mind of how this is going to work out. Who is going to make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC? I could see every single team of these 6 teams making it to the Super Bowl. That's not even a joke. I could see every single seed from 1 to 6 making it to the Super Bowl this season in the NFC. And that is something that I've maybe never seen before. So keep that in mind as I predict my NFC conference. Starting off with the Los Angeles Rams versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now this is going to be, in my opinion, the most entertaining game of Wildcard weekend. I believe this is going to be the closest game. I believe this is going to be the game that you're going to see people picking differently the most. Is it going to be Atlanta? Is it going to be the Rams? The Rams, a young, bright, up-and-coming team with an MVP candidate, while the Atlanta Falcons are kind of a team that's been forgotten about and kind of just pushed off to the side. But this is a team that represent the NFC in the Super Bowl last season. This is a team that's more complete than they were last season. Yeah, their offense isn't as sexy, but they're still a good, talented team, and they've played playoff football the last 2 weeks. Now, when talking about this game, the coaching advantage, I think, is the reason why the Los Angeles Rams will win this game. The coaching advantage with Sean McVay as the offensive mind, Wade Phillips as the defensive mind, in my opinion, is too great for the Atlanta Falcons' talent to overcome. I think Atlanta is a more talented roster. I think if Atlanta had the Rams coaches, they would win this game. But I don't have enough confidence in Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator for Atlanta to get this game and to win this game. Wade Phillips, to me, is a huge coaching advantage for the Rams. He is the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, in my opinion, and has been for the last couple of years. He's going to scheme up, and he's going to throw different things at Steve Sarkisian and the Atlanta Falcons that they haven't seen all year. And I think that gives the Rams, with their home field, with their defensive line and pass rush, a huge advantage against the Atlanta team on the road, which, in my opinion, isn't nearly as good and as talented and as scary a team when they're on the road than when they are at home. So that being said, I think this game will come down to a lot of amazing matchups like Deion Jones versus Todd Gurley, Julio versus Tremaine Johnson, Aaron Donald versus Alex Mack. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the coaches. And I think that the Rams have the coaching advantage here. Sean McVay versus the Atlanta defense. Wade Phillips versus the Atlanta offense. That's why I'm going with the Rams. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Atlanta Falcons pulled the upset, because I believe that they have the more talented roster. And I think that they match up, especially with their defense versus the Rams offense, very, very well with that defensive speed. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the Rams 27-20 to win on Wildcard weekend and advance to the Divisional Round. The other Wildcard game here for the NFC is the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. The two teams that were better than Atlanta in their own division this year. Carolina, New Orleans. This game will be played in New Orleans. That's absolutely huge. But not only is this game being played in New Orleans, but this is the worst matchup that Carolina could have possibly asked for in the first round of the playoffs when you're looking at the regular season success of two teams facing off against each other. The Saints have previously won the last 2 matchups in the regular season by a combined 31 points. Since the merger, teams that have had an opponent 3 times in a season have actually won the series 13-7. So it's not as tough as people say to beat a team 3 times. 13-7 for the team that won the previous two. They've actually never played in the playoffs, these two teams. Despite their success at different times of the last 20 years, they've never played each other in the playoffs, so this will be the first time. The thing about Carolina that scares me is that Cam Newton is too much of the offense. He's relied on too much. People think Russell Wilson is the most heavily reliant quarterback in the NFL, and he may still be. But if Cam Newton is number 2, then he's number 2, but he may even be the most relied upon quarterback. He accounted for 78% of the offense this season for the Carolina Panthers. Rushing, passing, Cam Newton is the ultimate weapon and the ultimate dictator of how these NFC playoffs are going to go. He is the guy that could potentially break down these entire playoffs, potentially break everybody's brackets, win the wild card, win the divisional, and even get his team to the Super Bowl. This is the Aaron Rodgers. Cam Newton is the Aaron Rodgers of this year's NFC playoffs. So for me, I think that the Panthers, this is a negative thing, that they're too reliant on Cam Newton. Now, in a way, we've seen teams in the past with one MVP-type player get their team to the Super Bowl or get their team close enough to the Super Bowl. But this year, I just don't think Carolina has quite the supporting cast to beat New Orleans, a team that they don't match up well. Drew Brees, Sean Payton, these two guys together just have the ultimate formula against the Panthers. Drew Brees and his veteran quarterbacking and his ability to pick through zone coverages, Sean Payton's ability to scheme against a defense like Carolina's, and then that home field is going to mask whatever deficiencies their defense has, which I think that they have lost a couple of key playmakers down the stretch that may hurt them in the up-and-coming rounds. But I think against the Panthers with no real receiving threats and Jonathan Stewart as your leading running back, I mean, Cam Newton's relying on Devin Funchess, who's a third receiver on most teams, Christian McCaffrey, who's a better version, I guess, of James White. Like, what do you really have on the Carolina offense that you're afraid of if you're their Saints fan and a Saints player? And the Saints offense, they're dynamic. Their running game's the best in the league. And I think they'll be able to get it done here at home. I'm going to say that the Saints win 31-24. I think it'll be a lot closer than the last couple of games that they played. But this game is going to be very entertaining. It's going to go down to the wire. Cam's going to make his plays, but ultimately Drew Brees, Sean Payton will be the difference against the Panthers. Then, in the divisional round for the NFC, that would mean that the Los Angeles Rams would travel to Minnesota for the divisional game. This game, I think, is going to determine who is going to make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC. So there's a spoiler for you right there. The Los Angeles Rams, like I said, great coaching, phenomenal running back, very good pass rush and defensive line, takes on arguably the best defense in the league. If it's not Minnesota, it's Jacksonville. And then you have a Case Keenum who, if his name was Teddy Bridgewater, would we not be talking about Case Keenum as a very good quarterback right now? Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, one of the better receiver duos in the league, a solid running game with an offensive line, an all-around good team in Minnesota who's playing at home. And to me, Minnesota at home has always been a different football team. They've always been a more dynamic, a scarier team, a team that I don't want to mess with when they're at home. And Minnesota, with the quarterback that people still question in Case Keenum, I think the home field gives them that much more of an edge here. I look at the Rams, and I think their end game is that they're going to be too reliant on their running back. If they're not beaten by Atlanta, I think their road ends against Minnesota, because these two teams in Atlanta and Minnesota have the speed and the ability at linebacker to contain Todd Gurley. And I don't think Atlanta is well coached enough to get that edge, but I think Minnesota with Zimmer, with Shermer, are well coached enough to have the upper hand on the Rams. I don't think that Jared Goff is quite ready for primetime football against the #1 defense in the league. I don't think he can carry a team by himself with that passing game. They're going to be too reliant on Todd Gurley, and I don't think that Todd Gurley in this offense is going to be able to get it done at a consistent level. So for me, I have the Vikings moving on to the NFC Championship, winning the game 24-21 in a very close football game, but ultimately the Vikings will take it. On the other side of things, I have the New Orleans Saints traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. And like I said, I think this is the weaker matchup of the NFC playoffs. I could see either teams winning these games. A lot of people are easily saying that the Saints would walk over the Eagles. I don't think that's the case. I think the Saints have shown some deficiencies and some weaknesses on defense as of late. And I think that the Eagles, obviously with the whole Nick Foles situation, if they had Carson Wentz, I'd easily pick them to go to the Super Bowl. It's that easy. But they don't have Carson Wentz. They have Nick Foles, who, trust me, isn't a quarterback capable of carrying a team. He isn't a quarterback capable of much. He's a quarterback that needs the rest of his team to pick up the slack. But that's not saying that the Eagles can't do that. The concern for me is that the Eagles' offense won't be able to score enough points. Because I think against the Saints, you need to score points no matter who your defense is. There's going to come a time when the Saints are going to break through and they're going to score. This game might be close for a little portion of time, but the Saints offense is too dynamic and too good with Drew Brees, Kamara, Ingram, and Michael Thomas to not get it done with a coach like Sean Payton. So I have the Saints winning this game. I do think it will be much closer for a large portion of this game than a lot of people believe. I think a lot of people think the Saints are automatically in the NFC Championship game, but the Eagles will push them. The Eagles will push them hard, but I just don't think Nick Foles in this offense has enough firepower to move on to the NFC Championship. So that means I have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New Orleans Saints in the NFC Championship. Like I said, I have the Minnesota Vikings winning the NFC. I have the Minnesota Vikings winning the NFC because I think they're the most complete team in this conference, and I think they're the team also playing the best football coming into the playoffs, which means a lot. So if Atlanta does not end up making a run, which I think at that point, Atlanta would be playing the best football in the conference, and that would mean Atlanta and the Vikings would go head-to-head. But if Atlanta doesn't make it through the Rams, I think that the Vikings would ultimately be playing the best football with the most momentum at home. So I have the Vikings at home winning this game against a Saints team that I think will be a little bit overwhelmed. I think that the Vikings can control the football on offense against this defense. I think they can run the ball like they want to, work that play action, get Case Keenum out of the pocket, hit Thielen, hit Diggs. Lattimore can only cover one of them. They've shown a little bit of weakness without Vaccaro, without Klein, and without their other pass rusher. For some reason, I can't remember his name right now. But they're missing three key components to their team at every single level of their defense, and I think they've shown a bit of weakness since that point. And with the Vikings, I think their defense is too strong. Their pass rush in passing situations will get to Drew Brees, even with the New Orleans great offensive line. And I think if there's any team that can slow down Alvin Kamara, it's the Vikings. You have Harrison Smith in coverage. At safety, you have Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr at linebacker. This team is very strong throughout their whole defense. If the Saints are going to win this game against the Vikings, they need to have a big Drew Brees classic showing. And I just don't know if Drew Brees has enough weapons at this point with the passing game. We've seen what happens when there's no Kamara in the passing game, what happens to the Saints. We saw it against the Falcons. But I think that without only really Michael Thomas, who's going to be covered by Xavier Rhodes, I don't have enough confidence in guys like Ted Ginn to get it done against this secondary in the other matchups. So I have the Saints dropping to the Vikings, and the Vikings going to be the first team ever to host the Super Bowl. So the Vikings will be waiting for an AFC team. And the AFC, starting off with the Wildcard round, the Tennessee Titans take on the Kansas City Chiefs. To me, this is the biggest mismatch of any game in the Wildcard weekend. I think the Kansas City Chiefs should walk over the Titans. I'm sorry, Titans fans. I haven't been really a fan of your team for the entire season. But get me here, all right? The Titans are 3-5 on the road this season. And they have to travel to one of the toughest places to play in the entire NFL in Kansas City. The Titans will need to slow down Kareem Hunt early on to have a chance in this game, because when the Chiefs are able to execute on 3rd and shorts, they're better than anyone in the NFL. Alex Smith keeps the ball, and Mariota turns over the ball. And with the Kansas City Chiefs defense, their key is they want to turn the ball over. They want to force turnovers. And they're a defense that relies on that more than any other in the league. They give up a ton of yardage. They're 28th in the league in yards. They're not very good against the run or the pass. But when they turn the ball over and they're at home, the crowd gets rowdy. They get after you, and their offense can execute, and they can run the ball, and they can pass the ball with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And I think ultimately Alex Smith should have a really nice game here. The Tennessee defense, its weakness is in the passing game. The Titans are pretty solid against the run. They are actually one of the better teams against the run, so I think Kareem Hunt might have a bit of a difficult time. But I think Alex Smith, with those two weapons I mentioned, should have a nice game here. And I think Mariota does struggle to make a ton of plays down the field, which ultimately will mean that the Kansas City Chiefs will win this game 27-10 over the Titans. I think this is going to be a pretty big and pretty nice victory for the Chiefs. In the other AFC wildcard game, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Buffalo Bills. I have the Jaguars winning this game. The reason why I have the Jaguars winning this game is, one, I don't know if LaShawn McCoy is even going to play. And if LaShawn McCoy doesn't play, that's like the MVP of your team, like Carson Wentz, being removed from your team. LaShawn McCoy is that good. He's that special. And without LaShawn McCoy, I don't think that the Bills have a chance. I think the Jags are going to suffocate this offense. The Jags defense is legit. It's special. And the Jags defense, their pass rush, their secondary, their ability to get after quarterbacks, and their speed is just going to be too much for Tyrod Taylor. I've seen a Tyrod Taylor that's been inconsistent, sporadic, and he can't throw the ball against good defenses. And as long as the Jags play their game on defense, we're at home, they're incredible. They're way better at home. And I think the Jaguars will pound the ball on offense versus a rough run defense of the Bills. I see this as a total mismatch. I see this as a Bills team that was just happy to get to the playoffs, a team that I don't think is going to stand a chance against a Jacksonville team that wasn't really playing their best football in the last couple of weeks, but I think they're motivated. I think their defense has something to prove here. I think they're a team that is too tough for the Buffalo Bills, and I think that even with Blake Bortles, the Jaguars team, you look at their statistics, are absolutely really good around him, and I think they'll be able to take advantage of a weak Bills team and win this game 30-10. Jacksonville, there will be 2 borderline blowouts in the AFC this weekend. In the divisional round, I have the New England Patriots playing the Kansas City Chiefs, so the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed. And, of course, we know the story. The Chiefs, they won week number 1. They beat the Patriots, and the question is, can they do it again? They can do it again. I think if there's any team that can knock the Patriots off in the divisional round, it's the Chiefs. They're going to need an incredible offensive performance and able to get this done. Without an incredible offensive performance of 30-plus points, the Chiefs are not going to be able to win this game. I'm just going to say it right now. With no Eric Berry, this is going to be really difficult for the Chiefs to get it done. Gronkowski is on an absolute warpath right now. I would not be surprised if Gronkowski went for 150 yards in this game. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have not played their best football since about week 6. They haven't played their best football in a very long time. They were a very good team in September and October, but when it comes to January, when it comes down to the line, Andy Reid isn't the same coach, and really this team isn't the same team. So, that being said, I just think that the Patriots will be too dominant with their offensive attack. Dion Lewis is the most underrated running back in the league. I think you'll see a lot of the Patriots using their running backs more than the first game. I think, like I said, Gronk will have a big game. And I just think that the Chiefs won't be able to contain the Patriots offense long enough. I think the Chiefs can move the football in this game and can have some success because their offense is underrated. But I just don't think that they can sustain those long drives the same way they did in the first game. And I think the Patriots will be able to take advantage, and they will win 34-20 in the divisional round. My other AFC divisional game will be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is in the first matchup, this is very interesting because in the AFC divisional round, the story will be Kansas City beat New England, Jacksonville beat Pittsburgh, and how are these going to turn out the second time around? For me, I have both teams that lost winning. I have Pittsburgh winning against Jacksonville, but this was the tougher of the two to determine. The first matchup, Pittsburgh lost because they had a really crappy Ben Roethlisberger performance. And really, they couldn't stop the run much either. If Jacksonville can do those same things, turn the ball over, pressure Big Ben, and if Antonio Brown is not healthy, then I think Jacksonville can advance, and maybe I even change my pick. But I just think that Pittsburgh at home, 2 times playing an opponent in a season, is too much for Jacksonville. And I think at the end of the day, Blake Bortles blows this. I'm not a fan of Blake Bortles. You guys know this well. He's terrible. In my opinion, he's arguably the worst quarterback that starts for an NFL team in the entire league. So I just think Jacksonville, when it comes down to it, Pittsburgh's defense, I think, will look better than it actually is against this offense. I think they'll learn from the first time around, stuff the box with players, look what other teams have done to beat this offense, and then they'll suffocate them. But I think that the Jacksonville defense will also keep this entertaining, because I think either way, with Brown, without Brown, this Jacksonville defense is going to really stall this offense in Pittsburgh. But I think Pittsburgh should be able to run the ball. Jacksonville, if they have a weakness on defense, is running the ball. And I think that Pittsburgh is going to give the ball to Bell 30 times. And they're just going to live with it, and only pass when they really need to pass. And then Ben will get his big plays. So I think that Pittsburgh will win this game 20-13 over Jacksonville. It will be a close, hard-fought game. But I just don't think Blake Bortles can get it done. And I don't think the Jags can get it done 2 times in the same season against this Steelers team, who I think is too talented to lose this game and too motivated. I think this is a different Steelers team. I think they have more belief within them. And I think the Steelers do make it to the AFC Championship to take on their nemesis, the New England Patriots. So that being said, it's the Patriots, it's the Steelers, it's the AFC Championship everybody wants to see. And I think it's the result everybody is fearing. It's the New England Patriots. I think they're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and advance to the Super Bowl once again. I look at this game and I think this is the second time these two will play each other. And whenever you play Bill Belichick 2 times, whenever you play Tom Brady 2 times, whenever you play Josh McDaniels 2 times, this is a team that's better equipped to win a second matchup than the Pittsburgh Steelers. This ultimately comes down to, 1, the Patriots will be playing at home, which Ben and Tomlin have never won at. They've never won there against the Patriots with Tom Brady. Second, this is a coaching advantage if there ever was one in terms of schematics. The Patriots just have that advantage in terms of schematics over the Steelers. I can't see how the Steelers go into Foxborough in their second matchup. Maybe they would have won that first matchup. Maybe they should have won that first matchup. But even with Antonio Brown healthy, with all the adjustments that Belichick will make, with all the adjustments Brady will make, I don't think the Steelers can win this game. I think the Patriots will realize some of their mistakes the first time around, fix that up, and they'll be a better, more well-equipped team. Also, count on James Harrison making a play in this game. I'm not sure how much that will play into this game, but I just think the Patriots, I think this is going to be a big Gronk-Lewis game. This is going to be a huge Gronk-Lewis game. I think you also see Chris Hogan come into play in this game, who didn't play in the first game, and I think that the Patriots will comfortably actually win this game against the Steelers. I don't think this is going to be the down-to-the-wire game it was the first time around. I think the Patriots will win by 10 points, and I think they will win 34-24 in New England to advance to the Super Bowl. So, the Patriots, the Vikings, Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. The first time a team has ever played in their home building for a Super Bowl, and that's a huge advantage. The Patriots have never played a team that plays at home in the Super Bowl because nobody has. So this is a different thing to conquer for the New England Patriots. When it comes down to it, I think the Vikings are the team that has the best chance of any team in the entire NFL of knocking off the Patriots. So I'm happy that I ultimately picked this to be the Super Bowl matchup because I think this is going to be an amazing game. And I think everybody expects the Patriots, most people do, to get back there and win. And if they do, it would be the second time they go 2 for 3, 2 times in 3 years, for the second time in Brady's career. And I think that they do it again. And I'm not just saying this like I did last year that I'm a Patriots fan, because I've picked them the last 2 years to win the Super Bowl. I know, but they won last year. It's hard not to pick the Patriots, one, when you're a Patriots fan, and two, when they're this good. And I just don't think that the Vikings, the Patriots, and even if it's been different Vikings teams, Tom Brady's never lost to the Vikings. Tom Brady's never lost in that building. And there's something about Minnesota that I've seen some weaknesses throughout the year with their defense. As good as their defense has been, I think they're susceptible, like I watched that Washington game, to the pass in certain ways. And I question whether if Tom Brady were to spread them out with all his weapons and work those, crossing routes, and I just don't know if the Vikings would be able to keep up on the scoreboard. I don't think the Vikings offense is dynamic enough to push the Patriots and beat the Patriots. We've seen when the Patriots have lost in the past that you need a complementary offense to work with a really good defense. And don't get me wrong, the Vikings pass rush can give Brady problems. But when it comes down to it, are you going to take Tom Brady or are you going to take Case Keenum? I know Case Keenum's been amazing, and I've even been crediting him for how good he's played. And are you going to take Bill Belichick? Are you going to bet against him? I mean, I have the Patriots winning this game. I think it's going to be a close game. But I just think the Patriots offense, it's just too dynamic. And even without Julian Edelman, I think, Gronkowski, Brandon Cooks should get deep in this game. Chris Hogan, Burkhead, Lewis, White, Amendola. How are you going to cover all these players when the Patriots are giving their all and giving their ultimate game plan with 2 weeks to prepare? If there's no team that's intimidated of playing on the road in the Super Bowl, is the Patriots. So I have Tom Brady and the Patriots winning their 6th Super Bowl and probably their last Super Bowl and going their 2 out of 3 for the second time. I think it's destined to happen. That more than anything. And I think in the Super Bowl, the MVP again will be Tom Brady. I think he'll have his best game of the season, and I think he'll show out. And I think that this is just destined to be. And I think it's just the Patriots that will take it for another time. But the Vikings will give them all that they can. I think this game will see the Patriots defense get the respect it deserves, and actually they will stand up in this game. And even though the Patriots will score 24 points, the Vikings will only score 21. So the Patriots will win this 24-21 by the same score that they won their 3rd championship by against the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 39. So I have the Patriots winning the Super Bowl for the 6th time with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I think they're just the best team, the most complete team, and the team that is going to get it done when it counts. The Vikings, being the 2nd best all-around team, will finish 2nd and will be the runner-up in the Super Bowl. So I have the New England Patriots winning Super Bowl 52. I want to hear what you guys have. Like I said in the comments, let me know who wins the Super Bowl this season. Is it the Patriots or is it the Vikings? It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL content, including a ton of NFL playoff coverage. We're going to have recaps, previews, predictions, guest hosts. Join us here on the Bottom Line View as we make our way through this playoffs to the Super Bowl, which I think will be the Patriots versus the Vikings. It's Mitch. Peace out.